Hey gamers, what is going on? Squirrely here. Thank you so much for joining me as always. So in today's video, I'm going to give you guys another story time because a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy it, some of my story times, because either A, you were not around back then, many years ago when the trading scene was completely different, and it's really fun to look at history, how things have changed, what's evolved, the good, the bad. So I understand that. And then some people who are actually back around, many years ago when I first started trading, it's fun to listen back to these old stories and think back, hey, I remember that. I was around back then. I know what I was doing. I know what I was trading. So in this video, I have another story time for you guys talking about trading and something that's not unique to TF2, but something that pretty much every trader, if you've been trading for long enough, this will happen to you, and that is being scammed. However, there's a little bit of a twist in this video because I'm going to tell you guys a story of when I traded my very first unusual, I scammed somebody. Yes, your favorite little squirrely friend, the trader main, he scammed somebody, but it was completely by accident. I had no idea what I was doing, but I thought about it. I said, you know what? That's kind of a fun story to tell because I accidentally scammed somebody, and I'll tell you what ended up happening in the end of it and see if you guys like it. So let's get into it. Many years ago, back when trade servers were a lot more popular and people would just hang out there all day, especially myself, I did so many trades and games that were always full, and I probably had 6 or 7 trade servers that I just frequently joined all the time, and people would even idle in there as soon as there was an update or a patch or something new came out. People would just be in there all day, every day, talking, looking for good deals and just kind of sharing their knowledge about what's going on. And there's actually like a lot of collaboration, which is kind of cool. You would make some friends, you would do some spy crabbing, people would help you find good deals, people would save items for you, people would duel and stuff, for hats and cheap weapons and things like that. So it was just a lot of fun to hang out in these trade servers, and that's kind of where you learn to negotiate with people. You would see people talking in-game, either over the microphone or on chat, and it helped you just to learn the whole environment of sales, basically, like how do you present your item, how do you have a higher chance of selling it, what do you say, what do you not say, what order do you say things in, right? You don't want to, put all your cards on the table right away, then you have no backup plan, and so it really helped me learn a lot about trading in general and sales and just negotiating, overall, outside of just TF2, but this is when I was very new to TF2 and I didn't know what I was doing, so it's kind of just paying with things with keys. I would save up a little bit from work, buy some keys, and buy a hat I liked because I was scared of trading. I didn't know what I was doing, and I knew that a lot of the more experienced people will sometimes take advantage or they would at least rip you off a little bit. So to avoid that, I would just pay with things with keys until I kind of slowly built my way up, trading refined metal, to hats, to weapons, to stranges, to festives, and until I felt comfortable, I didn't really want to do any big tier trading, which is probably smart. But my first really nice unusual that I traded for, I believe, was a green energy defiant Spartan, which I thought was the coolest hat ever. I like the movie 300. A lot of my school, mascots was the Spartan. I thought it looked really cool and powerful. And these big muscular guys. The helmet itself looked pretty sick. You could paint it. The effects were really cool. So putting lime paint on your green energy hat, it just looks so cool. And I built one of my first sets on there, the full loadout. You got to go lime soldier and make it look really cool. But I was really proud of it. I enjoyed it. But eventually I kind of got bored of it and I wanted to trade it. So I remember specifically being in a trade server and talking about my hat, advertising it, and someone actually was really interested in it. I said, hey, that's great. I put it in the trade window, used to talk in the trade chat a little bit, and the guy really liked it. And in fact, I remember being kind of surprised he was willing to pay so much for my item. I was like, wow, sure, yeah, I like it, but if you like it this much and I'm going to make a good amount of profit, then here, take it. And I remember when I got it, I don't even remember who I got it from, but I remember looking up the backpack price and looking around a little bit, and I was like, hey, I got a pretty good deal on this hat. I don't know why, but this guy gave me a pretty good deal, and I was selling it for a good chunk more than I paid, and I believe I only had it for a week or so. I don't exactly remember, but as with most things in life or TF2, there's something you really want. As soon as you get it and you use it a lot, you kind of get bored of it and you want to move on. So same thing in trading, right? You get bored of something, you want the next cool thing, or you switch mains, you switch classes, you want a different hat for a different class, or you just see something that you never seen before. And so I was kind of working on climbing that ladder and building profit, whenever I could. So I had no reason to keep the hat anymore, although I really did like it. But this guy made a great offer, and I don't even remember what it was, but I remember it was a really nice hat, definitely an upgrade from mine. He put in some pure, some other mixed items, and I was like, I didn't know. I was like, is trading always this easy? Like, this is easy. This guy's paying, full price or a little bit more, I think, for a really nice tier hat. I believe it was for Scout. I don't remember exactly though. Or actually, maybe it was Sniper. It might have been Anger back in the day when Anger was like a god tier sniper hat, because there just was not very many hats back then, like at all. And I took it right away, and I thought it was so cool. And I'm like, wow, this is so easy, making profit and trading. This is so cool. I'm gonna do a lot more unusual trading, right? And then I remember right after that, maybe 30 seconds, the guy messaged me again and said, hey, trade me back right away. And at first, I thought the guy was trying to like rip me off or trick me. I'm like, dude, I don't do trade backs. You saw it in the chat. We talked about it. We put in the trade. You looked at everything. It was good to go. Like, what is there to talk about, right? So back in the day, and even now, sometimes someone will make a trade and then they do a little bit more research, or, or they find out the hat's not as popular, or they just don't like it anymore, or they felt like they spent too much. And now they want either, a full refund, which, there's no guarantee anyone's going to give you a refund. 99% of the time, like, dude, a deal is a deal. You can't just refund. This is not Amazon. You can't just refund things because you change your mind, right? Or it's not Costco. You can't just return something later because you change your mind. But people try to do that, or I thought he would want me to, pay him back a little bit because for whatever reason, I'm going in there with on a negative attitude. Like, no, like, what do you want, dude? We just traded. I like the deal. Like, what's the problem here? And he's like, dude, you just scammed me. You just ripped me off. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, your hat is gifted. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was so new to trading, and I actually saw it. I remember seeing it was gifted, but I thought you could just remove that or delete it or whatever. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. Back in the day, you could not remove an item that was signed by someone or gifted by somebody. It was on there on the hat, but I thought that either you could just remove it or nobody cared because, being a new person to trading, I was like, dude, why does that matter? You can't even see it in game. There's no way you would even know unless someone inspects your items or inspects your backpack. Like, I didn't get it that this was a big deal. Back then, people would take off massive cuts if something was gifted. So they would want literally 40, 50% off because someone else's name is stuck on their hat. It's kind of like the whole dupe thing now. It's like you can't tell if a hat's duped. There's no way to know in game. You can't check it for any way except for, you go in the backpack history and look it up that way. It's like, the prices are just weird that people care about that, but they did, especially back then. Gifted hats were like, you just run away from them. They're just horrible. And, eventually Valve would change that and make it so you can remove them. And now gifted is actually kind of cool. When you see a gifted item, you want to look it up and see who it's from. Someone, a public figure, or someone famous, or a fan, or a competitive player. So now gifted, I think, has kind of gone full swing the other way. If it's gifted from someone important, I guess, in the TF2 scene, that can raise the value. But back in the day, having a gifted hat is just like, you do not want to touch it. It scares everyone away. They want a massive discount. And I had no clue. I thought it was a pretty cool hat. It looked great. Everything was fine. So I sold it to him, right? But in his mind, he just paid full price for a duped hat. Or excuse me, not a duped hat. A gifted hat. It might as well have been duped. A gifted hat. And so he's like, dude, I should have got this for 50% off. And I thought he was lying to me. I completely thought this guy's lying to me. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's been trading longer than I have. Either he should have caught this and too bad, or he's trying to scam me. Like, he's trying to rip me off. So I didn't trade him back. I kept the deal and I just went along my merry way. However, it wasn't until later, talking to other friends and other traders, where I found out he was actually right. So I actually felt really bad. I was like, dude, I had no idea. And I was like, that makes sense now. That's why I bought this hat for what I thought was a good deal. I don't know what I paid, maybe 30% less, 20% less, whatever, because it was gifted. And the guy who traded it to me had a lot more experience in the first place. So he kind of ripped me off and I didn't know any better. He didn't say anything. And that's kind of one of the, unwritten rules, I guess, is, don't ask, don't tell. So if you don't ask a question, they're not going to tell you, right? They're not going to tell you, the new house you bought has these issues unless you ask about it or you do an inspection, right? I thought, dude, it's in the trade window. This guy should have known better, but I didn't know when I bought the hat. I had no clue that gifted hats mattered at all. I just thought it was a really cool looking hat, but I found out, of course, the bad was on me. Technically, I still didn't have to do anything. The guy should have known. Like, he saw the trade, he had time to look at it, and the fact that he changed his mind later and he noticed it, like, kind of is on him, but I still felt really, really bad. And it was like, I don't know if it was months later or maybe even a year later, I actually remember the guy's icon, his face, his name, and I felt bad because I was like, I kind of just ripped this guy off. But I was so new to trading, I still felt uneasy, and I was kind of just like, well, sorry, dude, I got a good deal. You should have known better. You're more experienced than me. You got a much bigger backpack than me. Like, it's all fair, right? It's okay, right? In my mind. But eventually, I became a lot better with trading, making a lot of profit. My backpack was climbing a lot. I was doing really, really well, spending a lot of time and energy and just mastering the trading scene in general. And I saw him in a trade server, and I recognized him right away. I wasn't sure if he remembered me, but I thought, you know what? I want to make this right because it still bothered me that this just happened in general, right? Even if I send a trade offer, if someone underpays for something, I don't accept it, right? I'm going to send it back or, add some items to my end of the trade, make sure it's a fair deal across the way. Just feels so scummy. It doesn't feel good to rip people off, even if they're like willing to do it or they should know better and they just forget for whatever reason. So I traded the guy in game. I said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I accidentally scammed you a long time ago. I bought this hat. I had no idea what gifted had meant. You can even check the history, check my backpack. Like I was completely new. Like it was totally, my fault, but I did not know what I was doing. I promise you, I was not trying to scam you. I just wanted him to just, say, that's okay. I understand. I agree. And the guy actually did look it up. He said, I looked up your history. This is back when, Marketplace wasn't a thing yet, but TF2 Outpost was. So you could actually go in there and look at someone's history and stuff like that. He's like, I understand. I actually looked you up and you were a new trader. So, no bad. You didn't know any better. So I was like, great. But I still felt bad, and I wanted to make it up to him, so I gave him a bunch of stuff, actually, just for my own conscience. I don't think he even cared. He wasn't asking for anything, but I did look at his backpack, and it looked like he wasn't trading as much. His backpack had gone down a little bit, so I don't know if he was cashing out or he was just kind of bummed out, but he just seemed kind of quiet and down in general, and maybe, it was from seeing me, and he thought that I'm in the server, and it's kind of making it awkward, but I apologize. He was okay with it. He understood the situation, and I gave him, I think, a bunch of black paints, some keys, like a festive Uber saw, some strange, I definitely paid him the difference, plus a little bit more, maybe even a lot more, actually, if I think about it now, and I was worried he wasn't going to accept it, but he did. He was cool. He didn't have to. I didn't have to, but it was kind of like, everything just felt so much better looking back now that he understood it was an accident. It was a mistake. I was not trying to rip him off. He accepted my apology. I, paid for it to make myself feel better, right? I wanted to give him something back to help him out. He accepted it, and we just moved on, and I just felt so much better. No one else on the server had any idea what was going on. They're probably like, what is this free trade going on in the chat? But for me, it felt so much better just to get that off my chest, clear my mind mentally. I have no idea what the guy did or what happened after that, but that's my story of when I accidentally scammed someone, my first unusual trade, and I learned a lot from it, right? Not only, how to deal with duped hats and signed hats and, negotiating, but also just being a good person and, kind of building a rapport in the community as someone who's not going to take advantage of people, not going to rip people off. I want to pay my gratitude back to others, that have helped me in the past and vice versa. So anyways, if you guys like these kind of stories, let me know down below in the comments. I have a ton of other stories, trading, not trading, whatever, and I can go through those as well. But thank you guys for joining me as always. Keep a lookout for the next video. And of course, don't forget to say hi and what's up if you guys run into me in Casual or Uncletopia or another community server. And I also have a Steam group where I notify people of giveaways, new videos, and all that other stuff too. So have a great one. See you guys soon. Peace.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Use!
That's how he says it, yeah.
Squirrely, you